Jason Greene leaned back against the headrest and watched the clouds beneath the wing of the airplane. Used to traveling business class, with all 6'3" of him now wedged into the narrow coach seat, he cursed every aeronautical engineer who had ever suggested refitting wide-bodied jets to accommodate more passengers. He eyed the center section of the cabin with longing, regretting that he'd chosen a window seat. Several college students with more foresight were already stretched out on the few empty seats in the back to sleep during the long flight from Philadelphia to Paris. In the final analysis, however, and, exceptional lawyer that he always analyzed. It was his fault alone that he should suffer the indignities of traveling like an 18-year-old again. It was his foolhardy last-minute decision that had landed him here. What the hell were you thinking? The thought had run like an endless loop through his exhausted mind for the past 3 hours. He knew the answer, of course. He hadn't thought at all. He'd just reacted. He'd done a lot of that lately. A female flight attendant, blonde, attractive, and in her mid-30s, stopped at his row with a stack of plastic cups and a pitcher of water. "Something to drink?" she offered, her voice a sensual undertone. No doubt she appreciated the lone, well-dressed man amidst the myriad students wired to iPods, iPads, and other devices. He'd come to dismiss such attention. He'd long engendered this kind of response from women. With his wavy auburn hair, strong jaw, and bright green eyes, he was, as his grandmother often reminded him, quite a catch. Add to that a salary well into the 6-figure range and his job as an equity partner at a large Philadelphia law firm, and Jason Greene had never had much trouble finding women to date, except that he hadn't quite managed to keep the woman he'd fallen in love with happy. "Yes, some water, please," he replied, offering the flight attendant the same pleasant, reassuring smile he'd offered his clients for the past 10 years. The same smile he'd offered Diane upon his return home to their high-rise apartment each night, having missed dinner yet again. It was far more effective with the flight attendant. She handed him a cup of water. "Business or pleasure?" Perhaps she mistook his politeness for something more like interest. He wasn't interested. He'd had enough of women to last him a lifetime. "Neither," he answered, forestalling any further discussion. She responded with a slight chuckle, then moved on to the next row back. He closed his eyes and pressed the button to recline his seat. It only moved about an inch. He looked around. He hadn't noticed his seat was right in front of an exit row. Figures. He shook his head. Resigned to his fate, he grabbed the extra pillow off the empty seat next to his and pushed up the armrest to give himself more room. He pulled the slippery blue polyester blanket over himself and shifted on an angle to tuck his long legs under the aisle seat in front of him. It wasn't comfortable, but it would do. He looked out the window once more. It was dark now, and here, above the clouds, he saw stars. He closed his eyes and rearranged the pillows so that his head rested against the cool bulkhead. He drifted off into an uneasy sleep with the drone of the engines in his ears.